Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time you're watching this video. Yeah, I am 3 months postpartum, and today I'm going to share my birth story, which is something that I promised to do, and I feel up to sharing it today. Before we get into the story, there are a couple things I'd like to talk about. Number one is that this is a video that I'm making for educational purposes because watching videos of other women's unmedicated birthing stories really helped me prepare for mine. This video, again, is educational, so there will be medical language used. So if you are uncomfortable with that, or if there are young children around and there's certain terminology that you do not want them hearing yet, please keep that in mind. And number two, before we get into the story, I'd quickly like to tell you about the jewelry that I am wearing in today's video. The jewelry I am wearing in today's video has been gifted to me by Ana Luisa. Ana Luisa is a sustainable jewelry company located in New York, making long-lasting, fairly priced, beautiful pieces that you will want to wear daily. I love wearing them because I know that they are not mass-produced, but made in small batches using noble metals and recycled materials. And of course, because they are gorgeous. The earrings I am wearing today are the Toda double hoops. I have always wanted a double piercing, but these give the illusion of that perfectly, all while being extremely comfortable and light. I have genuinely worn them every single day since receiving them. This citrine November necklace I am wearing is dear to my heart because it holds the birthstone of my son's birthday month and even displays the month number on the back. I think it is super adorable, and this necklace is perfect for the birthdays of loved ones or to proudly show off your own. The last pair of earrings I received are these gorgeous mismatched sekai hoops. Hoops are a fantastic way to dress up any outfit, but these are eccentric with their asymmetry and organic shape. I cannot wait to wear these out and about, whether it's to the grocery store or to a wedding. All of their jewelry starts at $39, but you can get 10% off your purchase with the code itsnomersbusiness. If you use my code, let me know by posting a picture of your purchase with the hashtag #GoodMay so I can see. Thank you for listening. Let's get back to the video. Okay, it's time for the birth story. Hopefully this won't take too long and I won't ramble too much. So I just want to get this right off the bat. Epidurals are not common in Japan. They are not commonly offered. So from the very beginning of my pregnancy, I knew that an epidural wasn't going to be an option. I was attending a birthing clinic from the beginning of my second trimester to halfway through my third trimester, and they specialized in unmedicated births, although the birthing clinic itself had epidurals for emergency C-sections, so they did have a C-section surgery theater in case anything went wrong. And the only way that you could get an epidural for a vaginal birth is to schedule ahead of time. But that means that you need to literally schedule the day that you want your epidural, and you have to pay extra, and you have to give birth on that day, so you will be induced. So all those things I did not want to do, so I was just like, fine, I'll just do the typical unmedicated childbirth that they do here in Japan. And yeah, and I knew that I needed to start preparing mentally for this feat that I was about to go through, that I never knew I would, actually. So as I just said, I attended this clinic until halfway through my third trimester, and that is because due to the panini that we are in, there were some new rules that were passed by birthing clinics and hospitals that partners and husbands were no longer allowed to attend the birth. AKA, I would have to give birth alone in Japan without my husband and with no translator, and that was not an option for us. So we searched high and low, long and hard, not too long actually, it was only a couple days, and we found a midwifery, which is so wonderful. We found a beautiful midwifery 40 minutes away. We called them up, told them our situation. They responded with, "Of course you need someone to help and assist you giving birth." Oh yeah, this is your birth story. So exciting. And they said, of course, you can come. We're open for your due date, you can give birth with us. So I switched over to that midwifery and I gave birth there. Okay, so I was 40 weeks and 6 days pregnant, super desperate to give birth. Not because I was uncomfortable, but because if I went too far over my due date, I would have to be induced, aka that would have to be in a hospital, aka Will could not be with me. So I was like, please, Lord, please. I just want to go into labor and have this baby with my husband and the midwives. So 6 days after my due date, I woke up at 1:45 a.m. to a cramp. And it felt very similar to like a light period cramp. And I was like, interesting. I wonder if this is birth. Probably not, because I've been having false labor for the past 2 weeks. So it's probably nothing. But then I went to the bathroom, and for the very first time, I had bloody show. And I was like, okay, I don't want to get too excited. So I went back to sleep. And the next time I woke up was at 3 a.m. to another cramp. And I was like, ooh. So I went to the bathroom, and there was more bloody show. And I was like, you know what? This is it. I'm going into labor. So I wake Will up, and I say, Will, I've had 2 cramps, and there's some blood. So I'm pretty sure I'm in super early labor. Exactly 20 minutes later, again, bam, a cramp. And I was like, oh, okay, no, this is labor. Exactly 20 minutes later, again, bam, a cramp. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right, this is happening. This is good. And by that point, we're like, let's just get up and have breakfast and get ready for the day because we're too excited. And today is the day. Woo! At this point, they started to be 15 minutes apart, exactly. And I was like, wow, the midwives wanted me to go over to the midwifery when I was having contractions every 10 minutes. Suddenly, it's every 10 minutes apart. And I'm like, whoa, this is really fast. Like, it's already 10 minutes apart, and they're really not that painful. So I'm like, is this real or is this false labor? Let's just check it out. Let's go for a walk. So we wanted to go to a walk to go to konbini so we could grab some snacks and stuff. And I had been told that if I start walking, that's when you know if your labor is real or not. Because if it's real, it will progress faster. And if it's fake, you will usually stop once you start walking. Oh, so we start walking, and instantly my contractions go from every 10 minutes to every 5 minutes. Really fast. And they're, again, light, totally bearable, easy. But I'm like, this is every 5 minutes. We should probably go. So we pack up the bags, we get in the car, and we're driving there. And I'm thinking, wow, labor's really easy. This is super easy. Are you kidding me? This is 5 minutes apart, and this barely hurts. Like, I can handle this. We get to the midwifery, and I open the door, and the head midwife takes one look at me and goes, Mada desu, which means, like, we've got time. And I'm like, what? And she goes, you're not that bad. She's like, come up and we'll check your dilation and see where you are. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? How can she know? You know, I get checked and my dilation is only 1.5 centimeters. So we did conclude that I was having consistent contractions every 5 minutes. But as she said, they were extremely weak. Now, let me tell you, that made me really nervous because at this point they were starting to ramp up to being something that I was like, okay, this hurts. Like, this now, like, hurts. It's not that bad. Like, I can still manage it, but, like, meh, it hurts. And she was showing me on the chart. She's like, see these little hills? Those are your contractions. You're here. When you're in real labor, active labor, they're going to be, like, up here. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So what are we going to do now? And she's like, I want you to go home, just rest, no more walking because you're going to be giving birth tonight or tomorrow. We don't know how long you'll progress because you're a first-time mom. This is your first time. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm contracting every 5 minutes, how do I know when to come in? And she looked at me, she's like, you will know when it's time to come in. And I was like, cool, that's ominous and terrifying. But she was right. So we drive the 40 minutes back home. We sit down. I put on some YouTube and I grab my 7-Eleven egg salad sandwich as my little comfort food to eat. And I eat half the sandwich and I realize that I have absolutely no appetite. The contractions are every 3 minutes apart now, and I'm like, ugh, they're uncomfortable. Like, maybe I'm gonna go lie down and have a nap. And I start to get up, and a contraction hits me that is like 10 times harder than the last one. And I go, oh, and I grab Will, and I go, what the heck was that? And I'm like, what is that? Whoa, I've never felt anything like that before. And I kind of have like a very, very mini kind of panic, because I'm like, whoa. Okay, that was really fast and sudden. That was intense and very strong. So I instinctively kind of got on all fours, and I start swaying back and forth. That seems to like feel good. And the next one hits me 2 minutes later, and I'm like, ooh, whoa, this really hurts. And then the next one hits me a minute later, and I'm like, ooh, this really hurts. Wow, this is real. I'm obviously entering active labor. So I tell Will, I'm like, please go run a hot bath. Like, I want to get into the hot water, and I want to labor in the tub. And at this point, I am laboring, having a contraction every single minute. And so I make my way over to the tub. I get into the tub, and this is when it gets real. Okay, so the midwives, before I gave birth, had a little class with me telling me about labor and what to expect. And they told me that 6 centimeters was going to be the hardest size of dilation to get through, because apparently when you hit 6 centimeters, you are going to have the most unbelievable urge to push. But you can't. A baby is not going to be coming out of a 6 centimeter dilation. So they said, no matter how hard you want to push, you can't. And looking back now, I was definitely at 6 centimeters in that tub. At this point, sadly, I had absolutely no time in between my contractions. I guess this labor was one of those labors where my contractions layered over each other. So Will was trying to time them, and he's like, when are they starting and when are they stopping? And as I'm rocking in the tub, I said, I don't know. I just know that they just keep coming like waves. Like, I didn't have a chance to breathe and relax between contractions like I was promised in all of my birthing books and everything, where they're like, you're gonna have a contraction, and then you'll have a minute to rest, and then you'll feel the another contraction coming on, and then you can prepare yourself, count through it, it'll be around a minute long, and then after that ends, you'll have another break. I had no breaks. So that's when I started really using my breathing techniques, which were the breathe in 4 seconds, breathe out 8. Although for me, it's more like breathe in 4, breathe out 6 was what I found really comfortable and had been practicing weeks up to going into labor. So, whoo, like that. You have to make a ooh sound, and you want to keep nice and low, because apparently high-pitched sounds tense your body, and you do not want to tense as much as possible when you are in labor. So I tried to breathe in and ooh sounds all the way down, as low as I could and for as long as I could, and to breathe again to make sure I'm not hyperventilating, to make sure that I'm letting the oxytocin flow, and to stay not tense. But of course, it was really hard. So Will's like, all right, I'm looking at you. You're clearly in labor. We need to go to the midwives. We get outside. We're on the 2nd floor, so I need to make it down these steps, these outdoor steps, 1 flight of stairs down to the bottom to get to the car. And I remember standing at the top of the stairs going, all I need to do is make it down these stairs. All I need to do is make it down these stairs. And I'm like, I just need to make it down these stairs. I took a deep breath, and I like ran down the stairs as fast as I could. And as soon as I hit the bottom, my contractions like quadrupled in pain suddenly. They went from, they were becoming bearable again because of my breathing techniques, to I felt like I had been hit by a truck of pain. And this is when I had like a proper panic attack, a typical, what they all tell you, that when you hit transition, every single woman says, I can't do this anymore. That's exactly what I said. I grabbed Will and I said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to go to the midwifery. Just take me to the hospital so they can give me any drugs that they have, please. And he's like, honey, I'm gonna go grab the car and drive it over here. He's like, don't walk anymore. So he's running to the car, and I'm waddling with my belly. My downstairs neighbor, who is a lovely woman, is getting her mail, and she looks over and sees me, and she goes, what day are you due? And I say, right now. And I double over in another contraction. And this woman drops her mail and runs to me. And next thing I know, I have this woman holding me, rubbing my back, putting some counter pressure on my lower back, and breathing with me. She's doing the breathing techniques, which makes sense because most women in Japan give unmedicated vaginal births. So she knows how to do this. She's done it before. She's had 2 children of her own. So she reminds me of my breathing techniques and gets me kind of out of my panic state. And suddenly, the contractions are bearable again because I remembered how to breathe, I remembered to relax and how to calm down. And, you know, she tells me, you can do this, you're going to be totally fine, it's going to be wonderful. And she's like, you know, you're going to be great. We get to the midwifery, we open the door, the midwife looks at me and she goes, yep, come upstairs. I'll check you, let's see how far you are. So clearly she knew I was in active labor. So I go upstairs, we go into the birthing room, and she checks my dilation, looks over at me, and she goes, oh my gosh, Naomi, I'm so proud of you, congratulations. And I'm like, what? Why? I'm like, did I give birth? I was like, what happened? And she's like, you're at 8 centimeters. And she's like, you made it through the hardest part, like, without us. And she's like, wow, not much longer. You're giving birth tonight. And I'm like, oh, I am. And that really lifted my spirits and put me in a really good mood. And then that mood was quickly squashed because I guess technically, when I say unmedicated, I mean without an epidural, because I ended up getting an IV for 30 minutes for, what is it called? Strep. I'll put it on the screen, whatever this is. I was positive for it, so I needed an IV for antibiotics for about 30 minutes, and I had to labor lying down, and I couldn't move with this IV in me, and wow, I hated that. That's awful. 0 out of 10. I need to rock, man. I need to move, or I can't get through those contractions. So that was done. That was only 30 minutes, and I, on the birthing bed, turn onto all fours, and I start rocking, and I'm grabbing these pillows and blankets, and I'm kind of like cuddling them like this, just rocking, doing my breathing techniques, and the midwives go, would you like to labor in your room? This is where I can tell you that this midwifery was actually a house. I gave birth in the head midwife's house. It's her home that she has open. She has a birthing room and rooms for women to stay in. So I had my own bedroom with like a bed and carpets and a little couch and everything. They said it'll be a lot nicer in there for you to labor, so let's go in there, it's nice and warm. I lean onto the bed like this, and I'm rocking back and forth, and one of the midwives is rubbing my back, and she looks at me, and without checking, by the way, keep that in mind. I was never checked for dilation ever again, so I was only checked twice. So the first time, I was 1.5, and the second time, I was 8 centimeters. And this midwife looks at me, and she, you know, she tells Will, she goes, she's fully dilated, so she could start pushing, but the baby is still too high up. When's the last time she went to the washroom? Like, when's the last time she peed? And I'm thinking, I have no idea. Probably like 1 a.m. in the morning. I don't know. So I tell her this, and she's like, oh, so your bladder is full, so the baby can't come down because your bladder's too big and your bladder's in the way. So you need to go to the bathroom and pee, or the baby can't come down. So I'm like, okay, sure, I'll go pee. I go into the bathroom and I try for like 15 minutes, I don't know. I'm laboring in this bathroom by myself trying to pee. And I literally, oh, bless you. I couldn't pee. And they look at me and they go, if you can't pee on your own, we're gonna have to give you a catheter. And like my brain, I was like, I don't want a catheter. I've heard horrible stories about catheters. So of course I'm like, I am gonna go pee. Like, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna try again. I can't. I literally physically can't. I tried so hard. I tried pushing really hard. I tried relaxing fully. I just couldn't do it. So I come out and I'm like, I can't do it. And they said, yeah, we thought so, but we thought we'd let you try because your bladder's too big, so your baby's in the way, but your baby is also in the way of your bladder, so you can't pee. So it's a catch-22. And I'm like, just give me the catheter. And at this point, I'm like, I just want to get this over with. I don't even feel it. I didn't even feel it, a catheter go in. All I feel is extreme relief. And suddenly, I have rest in between my contractions. So if anybody knows anything about that, please let me know, because I've never heard of such a thing. Because I had overlapping contractions until my bladder was emptied. And suddenly I am in bliss. Because going from like nonstop contractions to a contraction and then like a couple minutes break in between was amazing. And then the next most amazing part was the midwives were like, you can push now. So next time you feel a contraction, push. And nothing is more relieving than pushing through a contraction. And this is when it became really fun. In between, we're chatting, we're laughing, we're smiling, I'm drinking water, I'm drinking soy milk to keep my energy levels up. It was amazing, and I was in a sitting position, so I wasn't on my back with my legs up. I was more like lying down with my knees up and my feet down lower. And then when I'd have a contraction, Will would come up behind me, pick me up from my back, and sit me fully up, and I would push through my contractions. I pushed for about an hour and a half. Then finally, he started to crown, and the ring of fire is a real sensation, but in my opinion, it was not that bad at all. I think anything at this point compared to dilating contractions leading up to now was like relatively painless. Because I will say that like contracting and dilating is really painful. But pushing, like this whole pushing time of giving birth felt amazing. And I was like honestly having a good time, and I was fine. And I could feel him crowning, like I could feel the ring of fire, but it was like, okay, it like stings, but it's not that bad. Will got really excited and he's like, oh my gosh, I can see the head. I kept pushing. I really enjoyed the fact that I could feel everything, that every time I pushed, I could feel if he was moving, coming down or not. And you know, if I had a push where I couldn't feel him moving, I could adjust for the next time, and I got better and more efficient at pushing near the end. Next thing I knew, the midwives were yelling. They were like, whoa, woohoo, like that. Will was like, whoa, and I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden, this baby was put on my chest, and I had given birth. And then I went into shock, and I started shaking uncontrollably and giggling and looking at everyone and saying, what do I do with this? I don't know what to do. I'm done. I did it. It's over. I don't know what to do with this baby. And I kept looking at him thinking, what do I do with the baby? And I was like terrified, because I was like, oh, now this is so real. I have a literal newborn in my arms and I don't know what to do. I've never been a mom before. I don't know how to do this. Will got to cut the umbilical cord, which is super nice. And only a couple minutes later, I birthed the placenta. They showed it to me. It was really cool. Then I remembered that we didn't know the gender, so I lifted his leg and I was like, oh, we have a boy. We have a son. And he didn't cry. He came out super chill. He was lying on my chest with his eyes wide open, just looking around. Then they put him in Will's arms. They gave me a sponge bath and let me rest, gave me some water. They brought me some onigiri to snack on to get some energy back. And yeah, that's my birth story. It was an extremely positive experience. I would like, if I have another low-risk pregnancy in the future, I would like to attempt another unmedicated birth, if I can. If you have any questions about pregnancy or birth in Japan, please leave them down below and I'll answer them in an upcoming video. I hope that you enjoyed this story, and yeah, I should probably say goodbye now, because who knows how long this video is. Alrighty, well, don't forget that naps are not unproductive. Take care of yourself, eat well, and I will see you in the next video.